When we started the Vintage News, it became very quickly apparent to us that our arrival and exit would be much better if we got an old vintage car. Very luckily, we managed to pick up Betsy. She's not a cheap option. We thought we'd have a bit of a look at bikes. I've picked up a 1962 BSA Bantam. It's a 175, so I've had to pass my test to be able to ride this without L plates. It's a fairly simple machine, effectively a lawnmower engine with a gearbox and a clutch on the back. So it's very simple mechanically. If you wanted to start learning, you can't get much simpler than a single cylinder two-stroke engine. Being an old beast, it has drum brakes. They're not going to stop as quick as a modern car or bike, so you do have to be a little bit careful of your distances. This design came out of World War II. We've named him Biggles because of his registration plate, and it seems like a fitting name. It likes cruising between 30 and 40, which is perfect for the urban environment. I was a little bit surprised today, but I've met a chap called Andrew Longfield.
Yeah.
It's lovely to meet you.
And you.
Now, you have magically brought back the name of Francis Barnett.
Yeah, it happened in a moment of madness. The name Francis Barnett came up on the market for sale. Francis Barnett's from Coventry, so am I. And in a moment of madness, I thought I'd buy the name. And it might be the cleverest thing I've ever done or the stupidest. We haven't decided yet. But
that's fair.
We've brought the name back. I'm based in Coventry, and these are our first two bikes. And actually, these are the first two Francis Barnetts since 1966.
Wow.
So it's quite a historic time, and we're launching them this week.
Yeah.
So here we are.
So what are they both the same model here then?
Well, we're calling this one the Merlin because
Right.
it's very similar in its size to the original Francis Barnett Merlin. And this is the Falcon. All of Francis Barnett's bikes were named after birds, so
I see.
and I think the name sits well on them.
It's got to meet all the modern safety standards.
That's right, yes.
But we're looking for the style of the British
Yeah.
bike.
What these bikes are is basically a foreign imported bike, which we strip down, we throw all the bits that we think are rubbish away, and we put as much British parts on them as we can to try and bring them back, and that's the cheapest way of doing it.
What sort of production figures are you expecting this
Well,
year?
what we're looking at, we're going to keep it as we're going to do 50 of each, a limited edition, and we're going to number them so they have a bit of exclusivity.
Have you selected the engine particularly to pick a low revving engine?
Well, it's an engine that's been around since the late 80s, so it's tried and tested. It's a Suzuki-based engine built under licence. These are learner legal, so if you want to come into motorcycling, you can put L plates on these and ride them straight away.
Right, so these are the 125.
That's right.
Okay.
And on the other hand, if you're an elderly ex-motorcyclist, you want to come back into it, it's a light bike, it's electric start. So we're appealing to a broad audience,
Yes,
really.
electric start, I can understand is
Yes.
a major bonus.
It is, definitely.
So, and starting every time.
There's been a lot more fabrication in this bike. The exhaust is handmade. We've had to adapt the frame, so the component cost is quite high. We've put stainless steel spokes on the bikes, new rims, Dunlop tyres. So this bike works out at £4,450, and this works out at £3,350, purely based on the labour and the components that we put into it.
Well, I mean that's not over the top, really.
Not really, no. And you're buying it into a little piece of history. Yeah.
Well, it's lovely to see the name brought back.
Thank you.
I wish you every luck in your
Thank you
venture.
very much, Kieran.
Thank you. And as if by magic, Jenny appeared. So, what have you got?
It's a 1965 mobilette, basically an autocycle. It's kind of one up from a bicycle. It's like a bicycle, but it has power.
That's handy.
So it's good, yeah.
Excellent. Because the other nice thing about having the autocycle is that when you're parking it, it counts as a bicycle.
It does, so I can park it pretty much wherever I park a bicycle. It's good for me because she's light enough for me to pick her up so I can put her on a stand quite easily. Speedier than I anticipated. I guess her top speed, I reckon, would probably be about 40. Happiest probably doing about 25. Yeah, the only thing is she's quite slow pulling away.
Are you looking to stick with this for a long time, do you think? Or might you be upgrading to something?
I am. I have grown attached to her. I do really love her. I don't know if I've mentioned, but she's got a name. I call her Polly. But part of me, don't listen, Polly, cover your ears. Part of me feels like maybe at some point get something just something that pulls away a bit quicker.
So I've managed to grab hold of Neil, basically because he's the first guy to show up for
Good
the
morning.
Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, which is going to be happening all over the world today, it would seem. So hello, sir.
Good morning to you.
Good ride here?
Yes, excellent. Yeah, just down from Horsham. A little bit sort of misty, a little bit cold, but yes, very good, thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, now I see you're on one of the later production Triumphs. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the best way of describing it.
Yeah, this is a 2008 Triumph Bonneville. It's a fuel-injected 865 Bonneville. But what Triumph have done very cleverly is they've designed the engine to look like it's still got carburettors, so it still retains a kind of classic look, or even though it is a very modern motorcycle.
The old British bikes always had the adage of leaking oil over
Absolutely.
everyone.
Absolutely right. This is an absolutely oil-tight machine. I've just come back from a 2,000-mile tour of Great Britain. It was another charity event which I did, and no problems with the bike whatsoever. I have to confess, have a 1958 Triumph Tiger Cub, and you'll be delighted to know that does leak
Yay!
oil. The Triumph Bonneville back in the 60s and 70s would certainly do 100 miles an hour, and this will also do obviously 100 miles an hour. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily faster, but it's probably more reliable, should we say, and dare I say also better built. The modern Triumph bicycles I'd recommend to anybody. They are extremely well made. They have to be these days in a very competitive market, and they make a whole variety of motorcycles, Triumph, to suit all needs. The only thing that's missing, I think, from their catalogue, so to speak, is a smaller engine motorcycle, a bit like the Bantam.
Yeah, I was wondering, was if someone thinks, well, that would be nice, and they want to go and get in at the base level.
Yeah.
So they're not making the 125.
No, they can't. What they
variant at the
do, I
moment.
believe,
Okay.
is for something like a Bonneville, once you've got your first step on your not the CBT, but the next
The
stage
A1,
up, the
isn't it?
A1,
Yeah.
I think they can put a restrictor
Right.
on the bikes, which restricts the brake horsepower output.
You're in a fortunate position, if you can call it that you've got two bikes, one of which is drum and
Yeah.
one of which is disc.
Yeah.
Exactly how much difference would you say there is between disc and brake?
Well, I can sum
disc
this
and
up very easily for you. This bike stops. The other one doesn't. It's called anticipation braking, the other
Right.
one. It's, the brakes, as you say, are drum. They're a world apart in terms of efficiency from this bike. And the other big difference, of course, is the old British bikes, as you all know, had gear change on the right. And now modern bikes and modern Triumphs, of course, are on the left,
Yes.
as introduced by the Japanese, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
actually, I can't ride both bikes on the same day.
I've grabbed Anthony here because he's the only guy that's actually turned up on a scooter today.
Well, I've had this for quite a few years now. It's my daily hack around Brighton, and I have a few bikes as well. But my lovely girlfriend wanted to come along, so I thought she could jump on the back and we could get involved on the Vespa.
Fair enough.
So yeah, it keeps up fine, so it's a bit more comfortable, so we should be okay, yeah. I like two wheels, and it doesn't really matter what form they take. Bicycles, scooters, motorbikes, I've got a bit of a collection now, so it's really just anything that sort of tickles your fancy for the day. The scooters are great for jumping on, starting up and taking off. You don't have to let it warm up as much. It's very, very practical. You can put stuff under the seat. And then for me on my own, I'll just go out on my motorbike, the old BMW that I've got, or my little Norton Villiers, just for a bit of fun.
I've managed to grab hold of Lee, who is organising the Sussex run
Yes.
of today's Distinguished Gentleman's Ride.
It started in 2012 as a bit of a laugh, really.
Yeah.
So it was just a custom ride for people with the same interests and things like that. It wasn't about the money at the time. It was just about raising awareness
Yeah.
of the cause, which of course is for prostate cancer. So it's a gentleman's ride because of that.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
First year they had 2,500 people turned out. Last year we had 10,000 people in around about 145 different locations running. This year we're looking at more like 20,000 people in 220 different cities around the world. The idea of the route is it's not about having a nice ride that you might usually have on your bike and going out on the open roads. It's more about being seen and raising awareness. So we're taking more of an urban route, but we're going along the coast. It'll be slow and stop-start, but a lot of people will see us.
Very
Thanks for coming
nice.
along.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm William Davidson. The bike is owned by my friend Nick Canfor, and the bike is 101 years old. Good run today. Yeah, we thought it might freeze up a bit because sometimes the petrol freezes up the inlet manifold a bit on a cold day. Anything up to about 6 degrees can be difficult.
A 300cc would this be?
About 350. It's a twin,
350.
so it's quite
Oh,
smooth.
okay.
It doesn't have a lot of torque, so it doesn't have bottom end power.
Yeah.
It's quite whizzy and difficult to keep slow. I would think it would crack out an easy 60 miles an hour because this is basically a TT model.
That's solid back wheel. There's no suspension there, so it's just the springing on the seat and
Yeah.
the front forks.
Yeah. You do tend to dodge potholes. I never used the front brake because
No.
it would just pull the little brake block straight through.
Yeah.
The back brake's quite effective, but you got to keep drying it on a wet day. It works very well. I mean, the bike has proved to be reliable, and it runs beautifully. Yeah, really nice.
It's my first Pioneer.
Okay.
I bought it off a guy who actually does a Pioneer every year. So, no, it's my first run.
Happily cruising 30, 40?
Yeah, 35. When I first got hold of it, I mean, I did open it up and I blew the valve on it. But my engineer over there, David, he made a new valve for me and a few collets, and it's up and running again, so it's fantastic. This is 1912.
You got pedals, so is this one set up like an auto cycle again?
Yes, it is, yeah. Because it's pre-1915, you won't get one under 10,000. I mean, that cost me 13,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what they go for,
Yeah.
because
Wow.
everybody wants to do the Pioneer run.
If you want to approach vintage motoring on two wheels, 500 to 10,000 pounds, you can easily get yourself something. Now, I wouldn't blame you at all for sticking to something that has disc brakes. A lot of reproduction things look very nice, and of course they're safer, and an electric start is always nice, especially in cold weather. Pre-75, you've got no road tax. Pre-60, you haven't got even an MOT. If you want to go back as far as one of these old veteran machines, they're starting to get expensive. If you're serious about it, you're going to do a lot more research than watching this newsreel. This is Kieran Spooner for the Vintage News.